Hi, welcome to You've Got This, encouragement for homeschool moms. Let me introduce myself. My name is Marcy Peterson, and I want to give you a brief backstory, a little bit of history about me and my family. I grew up the oldest of 9 children, and all the rest are boys that are under me. So I grew up with all brothers. And if you listen closely, every once in a while, you'll hear my Pittsburghese accent come out. I graduated in June of 1997, and a week later I was off to BYU to pursue my degree at BYU. I met my husband, who's a California boy, in January of 1998. He proposed to me in December of 1998, and we planned our wedding for June of 1999. During this time, while I was at BYU, I was very ill and sick and was getting worse and worse. Finally, I was diagnosed with rheumatic fever. So I went back home to Pennsylvania to get my open heart surgery, and it just so happened that it was scheduled for the same weekend as we were supposed to be married. So we postponed the wedding. I had my open heart surgery, and my husband was busy trying to, or husband-to-be at that point, was busy trying to find a job. He couldn't find anything near us, so he moved back to California, found a job, and then I joined him in January of 2000, and that's when we got married. We knew that we wanted a big family, but because of the open heart surgery, and we were told that they didn't know how long the valve that they had replaced would last. It was an animal valve, and that it could last longer or it could last shorter. They didn't know because they don't usually put those into younger people. So we started our family right away. My eldest daughter was born mid-September 2001, and unplanned. We got pregnant right away, and our second daughter was born end of August 2002. After that, I needed to go in for another heart valve replacement, and this time I would be on blood thinners. So our family was complete. So my daughters were these little miracle girls, and some of the most important things in my life. And I knew I didn't want to send them off to preschool. When it came time and everybody was talking about preschool, I didn't want them to go. I wanted them close to me. I felt it was too young for them to go. So I started researching and came across a thing called Joy School, where the moms get together, and each week a mom will teach a lesson to all the little preschoolers 2 or 3 times a week. And so I started talking to friends of ours that had children my girls' age, and they all loved the idea, but they were scared to teach. So they asked if I would teach their week, if they would pay me and pay for supplies for me to teach that week. So it turned out we had about 6 to 8 little girls, about 2 to 3 times a week at our apartment, and I taught them all during that year. I realized then that I loved teaching them. I loved to be able to see them learn and grow. I always thought I would be a teacher. Once my kids went to school, I would then go to school to get my teaching degree, but I soon realized, as much as I love teaching kids, I didn't want to do it every day teaching somebody else's kids. Then it came time for preschool registration. So I was looking at the schools in our area, and I wasn't happy with any of them. I kept hearing horror story after horror story from friends who had kids going there, and I knew I didn't want my little girls to go to those schools. And we couldn't afford private school, and I kept running across homeschooling, and at first I kept putting it off, going, oh, that's what the weird people do, and we're not that weird. But I just kept coming across it, so I started reading about it and realized that this is what I wanted to do. This is how I wanted my children to be educated. So I approached my husband, who was against it at the very start, very much against it. He knew a couple families who homeschooled, and he just wasn't comfortable with our kids turning out like those children did. But we prayed about it, and we got that affirmation that this is what we needed to do for our family. So we decided to take it 1 year at a time. So we started with kindergarten for my oldest. My youngest was still not kindergarten age yet, but we just took it that first year. And every year after that, we reevaluate. We reevaluate at the end of the school year, at the beginning of the school year, mid-school year, to find out what we can improve on, what we think we're doing well, what isn't so well, and always getting our daughters input in it as well. When they were younger, the things that they were most concerned about was, well, I don't get to ride the school bus and things like that. As they get older, they're now in 9th and 10th grade. We make sure that they have some say in what they're learning, what they want to do. We did lots of activities when they were younger, trying to find those things that they were interested in. And they finally came across theater and fell in love, and we've been doing theater. We're the drama family ever since. And they've been in tons of plays, and homeschooling really helps us to be able to help them accomplish their goals and their dreams and theater aspirations. So let's just go ahead and get started. So I just wanted to start off by saying that, parents have been homeschooling their kids for years and years and years. It's the public education system is the new thing, not the homeschooling. So use that as some encouragement. People who had so much less education than us were homeschooling their children years and years and years ago. So we can do this. So we each probably decided to homeschool for many different reasons, whether it's religious, education, whatever the reason is, we all have chosen to homeschool. But just because we've chosen that doesn't mean that we don't get overwhelmed or discouraged. We have good days and we have bad days, just like anybody else. And so we need to have things to help us bolster our spirits when we're going through that discouraging time. Because let's face it, homeschooling is really hard, but in the end, it is really worth it. So a lot of times we get discouraged because we're comparing ourselves or our children to other people. So I like to think of children as flowers. If you look at a grouping of flowers, they're not all in full bloom all at the same time. You'll have some small little buds, you'll have some that are a little bit open, some that are halfway, and some that are full bloom. And our children are that way. Each one is unique, and each one has their own capabilities, and we need to embrace that difference and be able to learn how to teach them even though they're all different. And our children can be different from the neighbor kid, from their cousins, even different from each other. I know that my girls are vastly different from each other, and so I need to keep that in mind as I'm trying to teach them. What will work for one doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for the other one. And part of the reason why we homeschool is so that we can give them the best education that they need without being in that cookie cutter mold that the public school has. So another way that we get discouraged is when we have our close friends and family who don't agree with our decision to homeschool or aren't supportive of it. Or my favorite is when they think that every time they see you they have to test your kid to make sure they're learning. They don't do that with public school kids, but yet they feel like they need to do that with our homeschool kids. Sometimes it's best just to intervene and say, hey, you know what, we haven't studied that yet. We're busy studying XYZ or whatever it is. I started, when my daughters were younger, I started a homeschool blog so that family and friends could access that and see what we were doing. And so then they would have something to talk to them about the next time they saw them. And I think it kind of boils down to that everybody's so ingrained about public school, what grade are you in, that kind of stuff, what are you learning? And for us homeschoolers, they don't quite know how to approach that or what to say, and so they revert back to, well, let's test them and make sure they're doing good. Now, not always, sometimes there's malicious intent there, but for the most part, I think they just want to know us and know our kids, and so we need to give them some kind of guidance on what to talk about, what we're learning. And once you get those kids talking, most of the time they'll just keep on going, and whoever is talking to them will get more than their fill of knowledge of what we're doing. And so I just want to say, don't dwell on it or worry about it. It's going to happen, and just embrace it and figure out what you can do to make that better. So when we decided to homeschool, we knew that both sides of our family weren't going to be very excited about this, and actually both sides were very much against it. They knew homeschoolers like we did that were totally weird, and they were afraid that our kids were going to be far behind academically and they wouldn't have any friends, all those usual things that come up when you're talking to people about homeschooling. And I remember sitting down and going, okay guys, we're not asking for permission. And this is what I had to do. I had to be kind of forceful about it, and just let them know, we're not asking for your permission. We'd love to have you support us, but we don't need it. So whether you're on board or not, you can't say anything negative to our kids or about our kids that they might hear about later. You can be involved with it, and we would love to have you involved, but if you don't want to be, then we won't talk about this issue. And they came around, and now they're all very supportive of our daughters. They very supportive of us homeschooling them. So changes can be made by friends and family and their opinions about homeschooling. You just have to kind of sometimes just jump in and do it, whether they're there to be supportive or not. And then there's also, if you don't feel qualified, I know a lot of moms don't feel qualified. You're like, well, I only got this much education, or I don't know how to teach this, or I was always confused about whatever subject. And just know that you are qualified. You are a mom. We teach our children so many things when they're younger. We teach them how to talk, how to walk, how to be potty trained. Those are hard things, and we taught them. So there's so much research out there and so much help. If we don't feel comfortable about a subject, we can reach out and have somebody else help us with that. I know that I felt totally unprepared to teach math. And I went through a few different math curriculums until I found one that worked for us and that we were able to use, and my girls have just moved on, and they're just smart little girls in math. And so it can be done. You don't have to be an expert about everything, because nobody is an expert. But take what you can, get that research, get your spouse involved, the in-laws, your parents, whoever, a friend down the street, and gather your tribe, your people, to help you teach your children and help them learn. You need to, I think one of the most important things is that we need to have tools available for them so that they can become self-learners. We want them to always love learning. And so just having those tools available is more important than being the expert about everything. Now, there's also that thing of you think you're not doing enough, right? We always compare ourselves to the Joneses or the Smiths or whoever, somebody's always doing so much more than we are. And that's going to be the case no matter what, whether it's, homeschooling or financially or whatever the case is. There's always somebody who's going to be doing more or doing better. And we get stuck in that trap of comparing and wanting to be the best. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to make a plan. Decide what your goals are for your homeschool, and then set that out and make sure everybody's on board and knows what the plan is and what the goals are. And then do what you can and keep making progress. You're going to make progress, and you need to just be able to look at your goals and be able to say, yes, this is progress in that area. And don't try to do it all. You're going to get so overwhelmed and so run down and be like, this is not for me. Because none of us can do it all. We just have to figure out what works best for our family and do what's best for our family. Now, I know that some of us are afraid of making mistakes. I'm very much a perfectionist. I want what I'm doing to be perfect. And sometimes I get kind of trapped in that, well, it's not perfect yet, so I can't do it. I'm not perfect yet, so I can't do this. And we need to realize that we're going to make mistakes. That's just life. We make mistakes. We all make many, many mistakes. And that's okay. Just learn from it and move on. So being a wife, a mom, and a homeschooler, it's not about getting it right every single day. It's not about being perfect every single day. You cannot be perfect, but you can be faithful. And to me, being faithful means failing but trying again, okay? So when we make a mistake, we just do better next time. We learn from it and we grow. We need to be able to forgive ourselves, get up in the morning, grit our teeth, and just start the day fresh, right? And don't worry about yesterday. Yesterday is done. We just have to worry about today, what we can do today to make it better. And then, now I know sometimes we worry about failing. Are we failing our children? And just know that you're not. You are their mom and you want what is best for them. You want to help them learn the most that they can learn and the best possible way that they learn, right? So we're not out there trying to fail or anything like that. And our children will learn. If we give them that opportunity to be self-learners, they will take that and they will run. And we just have to be there to guide them. And you ask for help. You know, if you think that you're having trouble in an area, there's so many people out there that are willing to help us. You need to, you might know that your child is behind, and that's okay. Children learn at different levels, at different ages, and just do what is best for your child. Don't try to push them ahead. That's what the public school does. They try to push them ahead to keep everybody on the same track, and we don't need to do that. We can personalize their learning. We can teach them in the way that will be best for them. And who cares about the test scores? Who cares about what everybody else is doing? What is it that you're doing? What's your goal for your family, your path? And just keep working at it. You just need to keep going and keep going every day. And it might get discouraging that they're not getting the 7 multiplication tables, but that's okay. Just keep working at it and keep going. And then celebrate every success that you have, no matter how small, especially for those who have some learning disabilities. Every little success needs to be celebrated. And it makes the child feel more confident and makes them happier to learn and to try. Instead, if you're always constantly going, oh, why aren't you getting this? They would love it so much more encouraging to say, hey, you got this. Whether it's just a teeny tiny little thing, then they're more willing to learn. And seek out any help that you might need for anything, whether it's learning disabilities or physical disabilities or help teaching a subject, whatever it is. There's so much help out there. So we need to be able to take advantage of that. And so sometimes we've been up all night with a crying baby, or we have serious medical issues like I do, or we have younger children at home, or we're just having a blah day, or we're sick, or whatever it is. And in those days, just remember, it's okay. Take a step back. We don't have to try to rush to finish it all like the public schools do. Just take a deep breath. Don't be too hard on yourself. And it's okay to take a day off if needed, or do a more relaxed schedule. Just take note of what is most important for you and your family and your homeschool goals and path, and do the bare minimum if you need to. And you'll feel better, the kids will feel better, because I know that when I'm not having a good day, I'm much more on edge and more snappy, and which makes life just horrible. So, take that day off. Take some relaxation if you need. And it's okay. You don't have to jump in and try to finish that curriculum. You just need to be working on your goals and on that path. And we have tough jobs. We're trying to balance everything. Whether, we're stay-at-home moms or we have a job outside. There's so many things that we have to balance. So it's okay. Take a day off. Take some time for yourself, So here's some advice I have. Don't worry about planning the whole year in advance. Kind of what I do is I kind of have an idea. Okay, this is the curriculum. This is kind of where I want to be at the end of the year. And it's just kind of a very basic kind of plan. And then I'll do, okay, the next 3 months. This is a more detailed plan, but still not very detailed at all. And then I'll take this month. What do I want to accomplish in this month? And then this week. and I get more detailed in the week. And then I every night decide, all right, so did we get everything done that I wanted to? What are we gonna do tomorrow? And that's where the details come in. I just take it day by day. Some people need to have it all scheduled out. I find that I get really stressed if I am not getting everything done in that time frame that I have allotted. So I take it more day by day, week by week, and that works for us. And totally, okay, love this one. Schedule nap time, especially if you have little ones. If they're napping, why aren't you napping, you know? Take a nap. A 10-15 minute nap can refresh us so much. I'm gonna tell a little story. So I talk in my sleep, and I was exhausted one day, and I was trying to give my daughters a spelling test. And so I gave them a word, and they were taking a long time, so I dozed off. And so my daughters, every once in a while, just as a joke, will say, hey Mom, how do you spell? And see if they can catch me, because sometimes I'll start spelling it before I realize, oh wait, this is a test. So they asked me, how do you spell whatever word it was? And I told them, because I was totally asleep. And so they wrote down the answer. And then they woke me up and said, Mom, we're ready for our next word. And so I gave them the next word, and sure enough, I fell asleep again. And guess what? They asked again, and I told them again. So we need to take that time. If we need a nap, if we're totally exhausted, give the kids nap time, or give them quiet time, or let them go outside and play. Whatever you need to do to refresh yourself and make sure that you are physically and mentally, spiritually ready to go on to the next thing, to teach whatever it is. And make sure that you schedule girl time. I think as moms, we need that adult girl time so much, because we're surrounded by kids all day. And I know that when I get with my girlfriends, it's like, yay, adults that can listen to me, especially when my daughters were younger. It's no longer little, you know, snippets of conversation or whatever, but it's actual, you know, adult time conversation. So you need to schedule that time. And also schedule time with your husband. This is so important, I feel, because at some point the kids are going to grow up, they're going to move out, and you're stuck with your spouse, right? And if you don't have a relationship with your spouse, then what do you have in common? You know, the children are gone, and if you're sitting there looking at each other going, okay, what do we talk about? You need to schedule time to be alone with your husband, as well as to have conversation that doesn't evolve around the children or the homeschooling. You need to have other interests, other things to talk about. Keep that spark alive in that relationship building. And then swap babysitting. I did this when my girls were younger. There was a group of us, and we would swap babysitting, and it was so helpful, whether it was for date night or just some alone time or whatever. You know, you need that time to refuel, and by swapping babysitting, everybody can get that time. You could hire a teenage girl to be a mother's helper. I know people who have done this, and it's helped them. And also, don't be afraid to ask for help. If you're like me, I hate to ask for help, but people are so willing and want to help us. So don't be afraid to ask for that help if you need it. Let your kids do as much as they can. You might need to lower your high expectations, but that's part of homeschooling, is being able to teach them life skills that they're going to need as they get older. So let them help with the dishes, let them help with the laundry. It's not going to be how you would do it and at your high expectation, but they just need to learn how to do it, okay? And this one we use all the time. We use paper plates all the time. Don't be afraid to do that. And learn crock pot cooking. That's been a lifesaver. You know, it's able to save time by being able to just throw the stuff in the crock pot in the morning, and then being able to have dinner ready in the evening. And you don't have to cook breakfast every day. Have cereal, yogurt, granola bars, whatever. You don't have to cook breakfast every single day for your family. Stay focused on your goals and your path and what it is that the reason why you started homeschooling. What is it that you want to accomplish? And make sure you're doing that. And don't worry about the rest of the stuff. Just let it go. Take care of yourself. Make sure that you are getting your doctor's visits. Make sure your hormones are correct. Make sure that you're healthy. And because when we're not doing well, everything else suffers in the process. And be creative. Play can be school. Whether it's, whatever. We did lots of fun stuff more so when the girls were younger, to keep them interested, to keep them learning. Watch an episode of Magic School Bus, and then do some kind of experiment about that same kind of subject. Cooking, whatever. Just make it so that your kids are having fun while they're learning, and they'll want to keep on learning. And most importantly, enjoy yourself, okay? We've made the commitment to homeschool. So if we are going to stick through homeschooling, we're going to have to do it, whatever way we need to do it. So we might as well be happy about it. I love that quote by Abraham Lincoln that says, "A man is about as happy as he makes up his mind to be." So we get to decide if we're going to be happy or not. So if we are dreading homeschooling every single day and we're negative about it, maybe homeschooling is not for us. But if we can make that choice to be happy and to instill that love and that joy and whatnot to our children, then they can learn to be happy throughout their lives as well. And so I just want to leave you with one quick couple last thoughts. Just want to say that the problem is not that we struggle. We all struggle. We're all going to be discouraged at times. But the problem comes when we allow that struggle to overwhelm us and overtake our life, and allow that to become so discouraged and in that pit of despair, that depression. We need to realize that we are going to struggle and to make a plan on what we're going to do when we are in that struggle, when we're in that discouragement. How are we going to get out of that? We know ourselves the best, so we need to make the plan that's going to work the best for us. Some people, it's, shopping is helpful. Some people, it's just getting away for a while by ourselves. Whatever it is that we need to do, we need to do that. And our children are miracles, okay? We need to be able to pay attention to what makes them unique. They're not all the same, and we need to be able to grasp that difference and be able to help them learn how to blossom and grow. And then we need to stick together. We need to unite and draw on each other's strengths. We all have different strengths, and if we as homeschool moms, as women, can unite and use each other's strengths as encouragement instead of feeling like we're being put down, and that we're not that good, but instead embrace everybody's strengths and use that to our betterment, our children's betterment, our school environment betterment. Just make every day happy. And just remember, you can do this. You've got this. You're a great mom, and you can do anything that you set your mind to. Happy homeschooling.